Go for it.
Hey guys, welcome to the next episode of Boffer Artillery. Today, instead of doing a talking head episode, we're going to be doing what my old engineering professors would have called a mechanical dissection of the Soft Kitty class engine. Now, the Soft Kitty class engine comes in 4 major subcomponents. I keep 2 of them permanently attached to each other because they're kind of a pain in the butt to take apart. So we're only going to look at 3 of them today, and then we're going to put the whole thing together and look at how they work as a unit. First, we have the tripod. The function of the tripod is pretty darned obvious. It makes the engine tall enough to reasonably operate and gives you a stable base from which to shoot. The tripod here is 3 lengths of 2x4 at about 30 inches long, and a wooden topper. The wooden topper was originally a turning round, or a furniture round rather, from Lowe's. I found that those had the very annoying problem of, after about 6 months, splitting along the seams between the different plies and causing it to break at genuinely the most inopportune times. I would get, on average, about 9 months out of one of those, but I was known to carry 2 or 3 spares to an event just in case. So now I've switched over to using, as you can see, 3 layers of pine 1x12 that are running in opposite grain directions, with a hole roughly through the top middle. On the old design, it was more important to get the hole exactly in the middle. Here, you can fudge a little bit. Now, the way the tripod is constructed is fairly simple. Each of the 3 legs is beveled at the 30-degree mark. They are then attached to a hinge, and the hinge is attached to the bottom of the plate, or of the topper plate. The hinges allow the legs to spread, to be used, and they also allow them to collapse for transport. Now, next we're actually going to look at 2 major sub-assemblies in one. First, we have the universal joint. That would be this part right here. This bolt attaches to the tripod. This yoke system up here, this U-shape, allows the weapon to traverse, or to elevate and depress, by rotating like so on this bolt through the stock. The lower bolt allows, on the tripod, a full 360 degrees of left-right traverse. I consider the stock to be a separate component, or a separate major subassembly, because they can be separated relatively easily. The problem is that there are a pair of washers in here that are extremely difficult to separate. If you take them out, you're going to have a devil of a time getting them back in, so I don't generally pull it apart. The stock is basically just a long place for the projectile to sit. Soft Kitty shoots arrows, so that's her overall piece. Think of it as the long tiller part of a crossbow. Here we have the trigger mechanism. It's ugly, and that's largely because Well, that's the 6th design that I used, because the first 5 didn't work, and I was just throwing something together with scraps that I had lying around my garage to see what I could make stick. The trigger itself is a pair of gate latches connected by a dowel rod that is screwed into the two of them. There are some issues with that mechanism, but by and large I'm pretty happy with it. What's kind of ironic is, had I actually tensioned the engine properly on her first shooting, her initial trigger setup would actually have worked, but I didn't know that at the time because, well, this was my first 2-armed torsion engine. Now here we have the last major subcomponent. This is the frame of the engine. What actually does all the work, what generates the power, is this bundle of paracord right here, and its brother over here. Each one of those is somewhere between 220 and 230 feet of paracord. They are wrapped around a pair of pipes, one at the top, one at the bottom, and these pipes actually allow you to adjust the power on the engine. By rotating the pipes towards the center of the frame, you increase the level of tension. By rotating them outwards, you decrease the amount of tension on the machine. All of the load-bearing components of the frame, these hole carriers up here, that's the name for the boards that basically serve to hold the holes that the springs will pass through, and the stanchions, the side supports, and even the main central supports are made of oak. For the love of all that's holy, when you're building your own of these, do not use pine for your load-bearing components. Non-load-bearing sections, like this piece that brings the bottom of the frame into the correct level with the stock to shoot evenly, can be pine. And portions like this, that are just intended as a stop bar for the swinging arms, can likewise be pine because they are not under load. However, the internal forces on this machine are somewhere in the neighborhood of about a ton. So if you do this with pine, it can and will explode on you. Please don't do that. The arms are oak balustrades. This is the second set of arms that I put into this machine. The first lasted me for almost 3 years and was made from oak turning blanks, but they had a couple of problems. Number one, the big one, after a few years of use, they began to separate along the glue that was holding the two plies together. And number two, they're actually less efficient arms than the ones that are installed currently. You'll notice that this arm is about 1 inch in diameter here, but only about 3/4 of an inch diameter here. That tapering moves mass away from the end of the arm, allowing it to swing more rapidly. You get greater acceleration from the same amount of force if there's less mass. So now we're going to go ahead and pause filming. I'll put the whole thing together, and we'll see how the whole thing looks as a unit. Here we have the Orphan. Orphan, come here, baby girl. This is my furry little shop assistant. She says to tell everyone hello. Her name is the Orphan. And at some point I'll probably tell you guys her story, but that's another story for another time. Here we have the soft kitty in her fully assembled state. As you can see, tripod connects to the universal joints by that carriage bolt. A pair of flat washers provides a gap between the top of the plate and the bottom of the U-joint so that you get easy traversal. The U-joint's still attached to the stock because taking this little bitty washer right here out and its partner over on this side is an absolute pain, and I don't want to have to do that. The only time I've ever done so, actually, was when someone decided to hit Soft Kitty with a 10-foot war pole, and it damaged the universal joint so badly I had to replace it after the event. The frame is attached to the stock by 3 carriage bolts. As you can see, there are actually holes for 4, but I misdrilled one of them when I was first making her. So I only actually use 3 of the 4 holes. The machine overall operates pretty simply. Now, I'll do a full shooting demonstration later, but in order to cock it, you brace the back of the stock against your hip, like so, reach forward, and pull. You catch the string on the trigger mechanism, you then knock an arrow to the string, and then you'll pull this trigger to release. I'll try to demonstrate that now. Again, I've got a full-scale shooting session scheduled for tomorrow that will hopefully get some good footage of both Soft Kitty and Warm Kitty, as well as the Jackson. But as you see, you knock the arrow onto here, aim, and she's at low power right now for storage. But this will give you kind of an idea. Again, she's at about half power right now for storage, and that was at a fairly flat trajectory. As you can see, she elevates to about the 45-degree mark, and likewise, she is capable of depressing to about 5 to 10 degrees below the horizontal. She is capable of a full 360 degrees of traverse, although I can't very well demonstrate that right now. And that is the Soft Kitty in brief. As always, thank you guys for watching. If you want to know more, there will be links to my books in the descriptions below. I hope to catch you guys in the next video, and see y'all later.